Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 23. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Friday, Steelers Nation. Dave, just hoping for a win this weekend, that's all. Or Monday, I should say. Just hoping for a win this Monday.
Yeah, waiting all week for Monday night. That's my motto this week. You know, you had that oddity obviously on Sunday with the whole 5 turnovers and still losing the game kind of thing. And what was it? 5 different. I forget what the exact stat was on it. But man, there's a stat this week that you certainly don't want to see the Steelers have come to an end here, and that's obviously, first and foremost, the Bengals are 3-18 on the road on Monday Night Football all time, dating back to 1970. 3-18. They have lost their last 7 Monday Night Football road games, and their last Monday Night Football road win was in 1990 against the Browns. They are 1-4 against the Steelers in Pittsburgh on Monday night. And I think the last game, believe it or not, the last
2013.
The last Monday night game in Pittsburgh between these two was 1992.
Oh, wow. Didn't the Bengals beat Pittsburgh in 2013 on Monday night? Isn't that their last Monday night win?
That would be in general. I think. Obviously, the Steelers, the Ryan Shazier game was a Monday night, right?
I honestly don't remember what day that was, but I just remember looking at the stat that they played them in 2013, and the Bengals beat Pittsburgh 2013 on Monday night.
I think that was in Cincinnati then.
Yeah, I don't think it was in Pittsburgh.
And let's see here, the Steelers are on a string of they have played a total of 30 home games on Monday Night Football since 1970, and they are 25-5 overall and have won their last 16 in a row at home on Monday night. Their last loss on Monday Night Football was at home was in 1991 to the Giants, 23-20. And I think in that game, the Steelers offense went 2 of 10. So obviously with the third down woes this team is having right now, you're setting yourself up for a disaster there. So you want to talk about fans of the team being irate. Boy, lose to the Bengals on Monday night, and they certainly will take it to another level then.
Yeah, some fan base is going to be really, really upset because someone's losing to an 0-3 team. It's just a question of, is that going to be Bengals Nation or Steelers Nation that's going to be upset there. But let's talk about
and really to add on that stat, neither Bill Cowher nor Mike Tomlin has lost a Monday Night Football game at home as the Steelers head coach. You have to go all the way back to Chuck Noll for that.
That is an insane stat. That is stats of the weird worthy. So thank you for looking that one up.
I hope you don't have to include that.
Yeah, I will though. If this thing doesn't go the way the Steeler fans want it to. But let's start previewing this game. Begin with the injury report here. A lot of names on the list, but I don't think any of them are shocking. Do you want to run through the latest injury report, Dave?
Yes, sir, I can. Roosevelt Nix did not practice on, what is today? Today's Friday. On Thursday, he did not practice. That's not surprising because Mike Tomlin's already essentially ruled him out for the game. Also not practicing Joe Hayden with a shoulder. He's expected to play through that, of course. Marquise Pouncey, not injury-related, probably a day off, we hope. Anthony Chickillo, foot, did not practice. Vince Williams with the shoulder did not practice. Vince Williams with the hamstring did not practice. Vance McDonald with his shoulder did not practice. I think I mentioned Chickillo not practicing with a foot. What else?
Mark Barron got day off.
Well, Mark Barron's been taking the whole week off, haven't Mark Barron's not playing either. No, but not injury related there. I suppose it's going to be a regular thing for him. It seems to be with Thursdays off for for him. And they did have J-Ron Elliott, kind of a bit of a surprise, show up on the injury report on Thursday with a hamstring injury as limited. So it'll be interested to see maybe what ultimately happens with him. Concerned, obviously, about Vince Williams with the hamstring, Chicolo with the foot. It certainly doesn't sound. And obviously a lot can happen. We'll see what the Friday injury report says, but going to bet that both those two end up being missing another game here. Not worried about Hayden, not worried about Barron. Obviously Nix is out. We'll see about Elliott. Pouncey should return today as well. So there you go. So Vance McDonald, we'll see. I mean, Mike Tomlin said he was optimistic about Vance McDonald being able to play Monday night, but even if Vance does play Monday night, Alex, how much will Vance McDonald play?
Probably not a lot. Like I said, maybe 25, 30 snaps, passing downs. Does that sound about right to you?
Yes, sir, it does. And you're definitely not going to have him doing a lot of run blocking, I wouldn't think. Not that he's involved in 12 or 22 personnel anyway, since he's kind of arrived in Pittsburgh. But yeah, that would be my bet, would go into this thing with the idea, if he dresses, to use Vance McDonald as least as possible.
And that really segues us into the one roster move that we have to talk about since last show, with the addition of Nick Vannett to get him on the 53-man roster. Vannett obviously going to play a lot this Monday. Xavier Grimble with that calf injury, apparently bad enough to go to IR, but I don't know if it was one of those, his calf hurts a little bit, but let's get him out of here kind of deals.
I was a bit surprised by that, especially with some of the quotes that had came out early. I think the day before about Grimble it sounded like he was ready to hopefully contribute more. And I went back and watched the end of that game to see if I could pick up with about 10 or 12 offensive plays left, if I could pick up where he injured that calf, and I really couldn't. On the all 22 there. So. A bit of a surprise, but look, I mean, you got Nick Vannett in there, and look, we should have done a better job, you and I, reading in between the lines with this as well too. The way they added Mack, to the practice squad, and then turned around and traded for Nick Vannett. A little bit of writing was on the wall there. Of course, you throw in McDonald's injury in there, kind of clouds it up a little bit. But it's easy. I found it's much easier to reverse engineer these things and make decisions when you already have the results in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
If only I could do that with some of my bets on Sunday.
Well, hey, your Thursday night record's been pretty good so far.
I'm on fire. I'm on fire. 5-0 in 4 weeks here.
So you got a crystal ball over there. You know what was weird with Grimble? Gentry came in to play the last 10 offensive snaps, and Grimble wasn't on the field, which, could have been a clue. But Grimble was out there for the final kick return after Gentry came onto the field and ran and looked fine. So, they still have Grimble out there even after he was removed from the offensive side of things. So it couldn't have been bad enough for him to still be out there in some capacity at literally the very end of that game.
Yeah, I smell a little bit of a rat on this one for sure. And, well, here's the thing. If you need him, God forbid, I guess you could have him as a designated to return player later in the year. But, look, I mean, his blocking hasn't been great, on top of it. Hasn't been a huge special teams asset I haven't found on the tape. As usual. So, to IR, he's probably a good chance he's played his last snap in a Steelers uniform.
Yep, but a free agent after this year, and it was always good from the beginning. When they put that tender on him, I just thought that was a little too rich, and it was probably because they knew they were losing Jesse James, and they wanted to have some continuity in the tight end room. I was somebody that never elevated himself past being a number 3 and tried to be the number 2 this year, just wasn't cutting it, and now Nick Vannett will try to be this team's number 2.
Yeah, yuck. Gentry spoke, I think, yesterday about how, looking forward to maybe an increased role. If he does have that increased role, Alex, I hope it's not as a run blocker. I mean, I know he played 10 or 11 snaps at the end of that game against the 49ers. Mm-hmm. Only 2 of those were run snaps, but they were not pretty at all.
Yeah, the Connor fumble, that was a really bad block by Gentry.
And then the Connor run before that, he couldn't stay on his block, and the guy he was blocking ended up getting in on the tackle, I think, for 2 yards or something like that as well too. So he's got a long way to go. I didn't pick up anything in the other 8 or so that him running the routes or whatnot, but he wasn't. He was obviously wasn't targeted on any of those. I suspect, and to hear Nick Vannett, we'll get a little bit more into Nick Vannett here in a minute. To hear Nick Vannett speak to the media on, I'm getting my days mixed up here, on Thursday. He seemed to think that he's got to get up to speed quick because he's going to be playing a lot on Monday night against the Bengals, and that's not surprising. At least he's had kind of an extra day, if you will, to get ready. And on top of it, he played the Bengals, as a member of the Seahawks in Week 1, so that's a little bit of a plus for Nick Vannett about already knowing the personnel, knowing the defense a little bit there. So maybe that's going to help a little bit in his preparation process. The moving train, as Mike Tomlin always likes to talk about, is tough to get on, especially this time of year. So the whole verbiage, the signals, everything that goes along with that's going to be tough. But he comes off as a very smart guy. I think you and I talked the other day that from a execution and all standpoint, he seems to have it above the neck kind of thing. And come to find out, he worked with, not that it means a whole heck of a lot, but I think there's a little bit of positive to it. He worked a couple, 2 or 3 months with Mason Rudolph during the offseason as well. So at least there's some familiarity with those two. And obviously Rudolph and the guys in the tight end room and the rest of the offense are all doing their part to try to help him get up to speed as quickly as possible.
It was funny to hear Vannett talk about how he had issues with a blocking sled on day 1 of practice, though. Do they not use blocking sleds in other NFL camps and cities?
Maybe that'll help him. Hey.
Yeah. Hey. It's just funny because every year at Latrobe, I see some of the rookies come in and they're just terrible on the sled day 1. They figure it out later on, but that was just kind of funny to hear from a 4-year veteran. But you're right, yeah, Vannett's, he's playing 50 snaps Monday, potentially. Is that reasonable?
Well, I started off, I think, a lot lower than that, but yeah, I think it is reasonable. He talked about how, obviously he's going to be optimistic about new team and playing for the Steelers and yada yada, but he made sure to point out that people, with him coming out of Ohio State, had him pegged as more of as a blocking tight end. But he wants to, he's excited because he knows the Steelers' history with the tight end position and how they like to use their tight ends and all. And I think he's excited about possibly maybe showing that he can do more with his hands. And I can't help but keep going back to my original scouting report on him. Look, there was no reason not to think that he was mostly a tight end coming out of college because what did he catch? Like 50-something passes in like 51 games at Ohio State over the course of 4 years. It wasn't used in the passing game a lot. Now, I did note, I remember in that original scouting report there, that he did have soft hands. But on top of it, he's still not a guy that is going to bust you up the seam. He's just not that kind of really explosive, tight end. Of course, McDonald hasn't busted down the middle for a lot of huge plays since he's been here either. But I think he can be that 10-yard depth kind of guy if you need him, and definitely help out on third down and in the end zone.
Yeah, I think it's cliche to say, but to call Vannett a security blanket for Rudolph's probably the most quick and easy way to describe what he'll offer to this team. Again, his toughness, his hands, to me, are the two most attractive traits he brings to Pittsburgh. But I really hope that you can re-sign him after this year, not to go and rehash that argument again. But, this is going to be a team that probably isn't going to have a great season, and there may not be a super big incentive to be able to re-sign him. So certainly that would make this trade look really, really poor if they are unable to. But in the short term, he's going to provide a lot of help this team desperately needs.
And let's revisit this now. And I put this on Twitter last night thinking about it. And since we talked, Pete Carroll has come out and said they've been after him for a while, and evidently they have been after him for a while. John Schneider, the Seahawks GM, finally decided to pull the trigger on that. I don't know if that being after him escalated just because of the injury to McDonald. If the price tag that Colbert was willing to pay went up on that, or if this had been the plan, or if Colbert had been calling the Seahawks every week for the last 2 years. I don't know, but we've talked about how the Steelers have guys that they like, right? And I think it's clear that they have liked Nick Vannett. I mean, Mike Tomlin talked about, going all the way back to his pro day. You had Vannett coming in and saying, they met me at the Senior Bowl that year, and that kind of thing. Now, Vannett, obviously, I don't think until yesterday revealed that he had known that the Steelers had been after him or whatnot for a while. But I guess, once again, with some extra information in the rearview mirror here, the Steelers don't normally do, obviously, contracts once the season starts. But Vannett's situation is a little bit of a unique one because they didn't have a player to extend prior to the start of the season. So,
Right.
And look, we're definitely dealing with kind of an uncharacteristic Kevin Colbert at this point. Could we see in the next couple of weeks the Steelers go ahead and get Vannett signed? Obviously at this point, I mean, it would be because of fear of future or whatnot, an injury. Obviously, it could wind up being lucrative to a guy like Vannett to go ahead and get the right deal done now. Or he could figure, man, what a great opportunity I have over the course of the next 13 weeks here to show not only what I have on put on film for the Steelers as a more complete tight end, but to the other 30 or 20, 29, 30 teams in the NFL, 31 teams in the NFL as well. So I'm going to increase my market price, and then I'll see what the Steelers bring to the table before the start of free agency next year. So is it likely? No, but hey, it was not likely that they would trade a first round pick for Mika Fitzpatrick, right? So I mean, is there a slight possibility that they get Vannett signed here in the coming weeks?
Sure, I can't say no for the reasons you just mentioned. Kevin Colbert's doing some un-Kevin Colbert-like things. So is it possible? Yeah, but do I think it's likely? I'm with you. No, I don't think it is. And if you're Vannett, you're probably saying if what he says is true, whenever Vannett says the history of how the Steelers use their tight ends, let's have a good season first and then try to cash in once we're close to hitting the market, as opposed to doing it right now. Because he's got 5 catches this season. That's probably not going to help out his market value too much. So if he can finish this year with 30 some odd catches, then that's probably going to boost his market value and get his price tag to go up. So if I was Vannett, I would tell him to wait. Or I would wait myself if I was Vannett and get that deal done after the season when I probably have a little more leverage on my side.
Yeah, and the only thing is the Steelers would have to be in a hurry on that. But they've obviously signed players in the past before they've hit free agency. I just have a feeling now, knowing how much it seems like they have been after Vannett, for a while now, doing their best to make sure he just does not walk out of the door after 13 games.
Right. Well, that's good leverage for Vannett to be in, too. Pay me a little bit more because, they want to re-sign you. And to your question earlier, I think and this is just a guess, but it felt like Colbert was offering only a 6th or 7th round pick before, and then with these injuries, he bumped it up to a 5th, and that's why the deal got done right now. Kind of almost Oakland Martavis Bryant situation where Colbert basically said, they just offered us way too good of an offer. They kept bugging us, and they finally gave us a 3rd, and we just couldn't pass it up. It kind of feels the same with Seattle and Vannett.
And Pete Carroll talked about having the security of being able to turn right around and sign back Luke Wilson, and they've obviously are happy with Disley, and they weren't using Vannett but about 20 to 30 snaps a game. It's hard to even find some, it's hard to pick out his snaps on tape, from this season when you go back through them. I mean, like I said, 80-something, I think, offensive snaps in total. There are probably some kneel downs in there or whatnot on top of that. But here's another thing. I think we have a couple of emails on this, so let's kind of wrap this up into one thing here instead of reading through a few of these emails here that address the topic. Now that we kind of understand or can, now the smoke is cleared and we can kind of encapsulate this as basically being a Josh Dobbs for Nick Vannett trade. All right, if 2 weeks ago, would you have traded Joshua Dobbs for Nick Vannett straight up? Not
yes.
Obviously, you wouldn't have known about the Roethlisberger injury, or you wouldn't have known about the Vance McDonald injury and those kind of things. So let's back up and pretend that even though the listeners won't, we didn't say what we said last week. Reframing this, would you trade Joshua Dobbs straight up for Nick Vannett?
Yes, I would, but I don't like the framing of that, and I don't even believe it's Josh Dobbs for Vannett straight up. I mean, I don't want to get in the weeds of this thing, but it's because you don't have Dobbs, you don't have a 5th round pick, and you have Vannett, so you traded Josh Dobbs and a 5th round pick for Nick Vannett. is the way I look at it. And that's rich, like I said last week or last.
Well, your other 5th round pick went to Miami.
Yeah, I know.
All
you
right.
don't have a 5th round pick, I know.
All right.
Yeah.
So the 5th round pick, you instead of trading the Dobbs for the 5th round pick, you were essentially trading Dobbs for Vannett.
Yeah, but all I know is that you don't have Dobbs, you don't have a 5th round pick, you have Vannett, and so in essence, you traded, Dobbs in a 5th. Like I said, I just don't like the framing. You didn't have to do the deal. You would have had a 5th round pick anyway. I think it's just kind of I don't like framing it in that sense, and I don't like trading a 5th round pick for a guy that I may not have on my team in 2020. That's the bottom line for me.
Okay, I mean, obviously, as part of the framing, you have to include that Vannett currently is only on, a rookie contract that expires after this season, and Dobbs would have been potentially with you through the 2020 season.
Right.
But I still think it is okay to frame it as Dobbs for Vannett.
But
I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time you telling me how I can't.
Well, like I said, I don't want to get in the weeds of this thing because I think it's just a silly exercise in general. I don't like to do it really in any situation.
You calling me silly?
The ha-ha. Yeah.
I amuse you?
Yeah.
I'm a clown?
But don't we agree
yes.
that trading a 5th was rich? I mean, that's the bottom line to me, is that a 5th round pick for a potential rental player in a year where you may not even sniff the playoffs, for me, is rich. That's the bottom line for him. That's the way I look at it. That's how I frame it.
All right. Now, and obviously you would have had to made that, in my scenario, make that deal prior to knowing, what has happened. I think it's fair if you are going to frame it that way, to frame it not knowing what was going to happen to Roethlisberger and not knowing what was going to happen to McDonald. But look,
Sure.
I mean,
and that's why I don't like doing this whole go backwards in time and this is what the trade actually was. I just focus on what it was now. You didn't have to make the trade, and they did, and so you don't have a 5th round pick, and I'm not crazy about that.
All right, now we were blasting them though for not going out and getting a tight end ahead of the start of the season.
Yeah.
So
but that's different set of circumstances, I think.
All right, so had they gone out and gotten Vannett for a 5th ahead of the season, would you have been okay with that?
Well, I think it would have been pricey still, but again, before the season, what were the aspirations of this team? Win a Super Bowl. Are the team aspirations right now win a Super Bowl? No, they're not. And so I think you have a different set of circumstances of an 0-3 team versus a Ben Roethlisberger-led 0-0 team. I think that's fair to look at the situation in context.
Okay.
Is that right? Because what happens if this team goes 7-9, misses the playoffs, obviously, and Vannett walks? This trade looks really terrible, doesn't it?
It does, and that's why I brought up in the beginning. That's why, okay, that's. I guess I'm more on board with it because I'm 80% sure they're not going to let Vannett walk out the door.
What if he wants to walk? If he goes on a 7-9 team, it's not like he's going to be on a good Steelers team that makes the playoffs and compels you to come back. Or what if he gets a better offer?
I'm factoring that into my thinking that there's an 80% chance of him re-signing.
Sure. I'm sure they want to, and he may re-sign, and that would be obviously a very good thing for in the terms of the trade. But the tight end market was hot last year, even for guys who didn't catch a lot of passes. Jesse James and Nick Boyle each got $6 million per year. But if he just doesn't want to be here or has a better offer somewhere else, or heck, goes back to Seattle, I mean, who knows? If he comes back, then this trade looks better. But if he leaves, this trade looks like a real blunder.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought, we've got a lot of questions on that. Yeah, I think it's fair to ask that question. Would you have traded? I mean, you obviously don't, but I think a lot of people are trying to wrap their head around it that way, and I understand it. I think I'd be more apt working it out in my head that way. Sacrificing the extra year to have the guy now. And we'll obviously see what happens if he can help and if this team can turn this thing around, which, obviously looking kind of bleak right now. But it's understandable why people are asking that question and wanting us to revisit this and look at it that way.
Sure. Again, kind of like the Fitzpatrick deal, it'll be almost viewed in hindsight for what happens after the year in terms of the Fitzpatrick deal. What draft pick does this Miami end up having that was Pittsburgh's? And then for Vannett, does he re-sign or not? So a lot to be determined with these trades Colbert's making.
All right, how are we going to see Vannett used? Are we going to hopefully I want to see some heavy sets, obviously, but and as we get into the breakdown of this thing, I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities to use some 11 personnel with Vannett possible or McDonald possibly being part of that because of what's going to be potentially lined up on the other side from them. We expect a lot of that H-back role with him. Obviously into the line of scrimmage type thing. I'm not big on seeing Gentry have to play a lot of snaps in this game, so I would think you can mix in something that they didn't do in this last game, which would be Banner, especially on downs where you say, look, here it is, we're going to run. Kind of thing. But I think that kind of goes in with what you kind of saying. Could we see a guy like Vannett play 40 to 50 snaps?
Yeah, I think you will. Because at best, McDonald will be on a pitch count prior to passing downs. Your offense has 60, 70 plays. McDonald plays 20 to 30. Vannett's probably going to get about the rest. Yeah, Banner should play. I thought he was going to play last week, so who knows? But this is a 4-3 team. Usually you have those offensive tackles coming against 4-3 teams. Core 4 played against the Bengals in that capacity last year as a 6 offensive lineman, so that would be helpful, I think, to the run game. But I can't guarantee it considering we didn't see it at all last week when I thought for sure that we would.
Okay. Look, he comes off as it's understandable the more you hear Vannett speak, and talk about why they went out and got him.
Yeah, I get it that they needed help now. If they didn't have Vannett, what were they going to do with tight end this week? Cry? Yeah. It's just nothing. Elise Mack, hello, welcome. Kevin Rader's still in the practice squad, right? He's still hanging around.
Yeah.
So, okay. What do you want to go to next? Anything else you wanted to review from this past week? Otherwise, I was going to yell about Randy Fichtner if you don't have anything.
Okay, go after it.
The video I did for the one up this morning on Steelers Depot with Randy Fichtner, and again, obviously there's this terrible start. It's not all the coach's fault. There's a lot of player execution issues too. But I don't know if you saw the video or saw the plays, but Fichtner twice on Sunday ran that fake bubble screen, try to hit the seam, the juju, which is a play that has worked in the past. I'm fine with the design in general, but the 2 times he used it Sunday was on a 3rd and 7, did not work. Steelers had the punt. And then on the final drive with a minute left on a 2nd and 10, where the defense is not biting on anything and just wanting to, obviously play, not get beat deep. So I just, being a good coach is knowing is about timing and knowing when to call a certain play. And Fichtner, I think so far has done a terrible job of having a feel for the game, knowing when to call plays and how to use one play to set up another, something that for the record, the 49ers do a tremendous job of.
Holy moly, do they?
Yeah.
Do they? Alex, I got depressed the other night going through that tape like a 3rd time and really focusing on the Steelers defense on the last time around, and then as part of that, looking at what the 49ers did offensively, and then going back and thinking about the stuff that you guys wrote on the site ahead of previewing the 49ers offense. The 49ers didn't do really much of anything that wasn't already out there on tape. The thing is that Shanahan does such a great job of building off of formations and personnel groupings, and he can put lipstick on, more lipstick on a certain play, and run the same play. And I don't know if you saw the GIF that I put up yesterday, and I had to reverse it because here's a lot of things. You'll look at things and you'll study the tape, and the team will be going one direction. And teams will obviously try to do something going the other direction at times. I don't know what really the difference is other than a viewpoint from a television angle. But it is a little bit harder to pick out from all 22 that way. But they did do that, especially on kind of that fake block over route to George Kittle there. They just dressed it up a little bit differently with some orbit motion behind the quarterback. But basically what I'm getting at is what the 49ers did on Sunday against the Steelers wasn't anything real shocking. There were a lot of stuff. I'm not even sure you saw, a couple of times they ran kind of that Mills concept that we saw, especially in week 1, that the Patriots burned the Steelers on. there with the outside in breaking route, and then the post supposed to split the safeties, run the corner or the post depending on what the safeties do, and then they obviously had hit the in route on that one. It wasn't shocking. You just got to do a better job of studying the film defensively, and then when it comes to Fichtner, I guess going back to the original kind of topic here, man, you can take the same formation or a similar formation in the same personnel group, and you can do so many different things off of that with your route combinations. I mean, your route combinations basically be the same just by dressing it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote in the scouting report, I'm reading the quote here, quote, Kyle Shanahan is a great offensive mind, and with Keith Butler at DC, the Steelers are at a coaching disadvantage heading into this one. And I think that was a very clear post-game as well. And the players said that. They said they knew what the 49ers liked to do. They just couldn't stop it. And that's the mark of a really good team when the opposition knows what's coming and they just can't handle it. And that's a testament to the 49ers being able to set things up and have their misdirection and have an identity. How wouldn't that be nice? I mean, the 49ers know who they are. And I have a clip here of how the 49ers run play action versus how the Steelers run play action. For the 49ers, and I think the third quarter of this one, line up 21 personnel, run a fullback dive on the first play. 2 plays later, they have the same exact look, same exact formation. Steelers play it the exact same way. Play action 20 yards over the middle and a big play. While the Steelers, they're running play action on 3rd and 6. No one bites. They're running play action with super high hat, so linebackers don't even bite. I mean, it's just the Steelers being chaotic and not knowing what to do and not knowing how to set stuff up, with the 49ers being pros at that. So, again, from a coaching standpoint, Steelers are getting outclassed by everybody.
And, they made it very simple on talking about Shanahan on Garoppolo as well, too. Easy checks for him, out of a lot of what they did. And you can do that with a young quarterback in Rudolph as well, too, if you do. Now, obviously, you don't have the fullback right now in Nix. And even so, Nix isn't the receiving threat that a Kyle Juszczyk is. Well, I hope I don't have to see him anytime soon. That guy gives me nightmares right there. He is a damn good player.
They paid him a lot of money. Yeah.
He goes back to his time obviously with the Ravens and all. It seems like that guy's always making plays. Especially against the Steelers there.
Isn't he the one that ran over Mike Mitchell at the goal line?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. And with him and Kittle together, with what those two offer, not only from a blocking standpoint, but from a receiving standpoint, the Steelers obviously don't have that. They hope Nick Vannett can add to that, obviously, and then until you get. But even when you get Nick's back, you're not the Steelers. We'll see what Randy tries to do. It might be too late, unfortunately, but Nick's is still not a guy you're going to have out there 40 plays a game.
Right, he's not Kyle Juszczyk. He's not significantly changing the feel and the tone and the production of this offense. He's just not.
But I mean, you can still run, stuff, even out of 11 personnel, or out of 12 personnel, or occasionally 22 personnel, with with a couple of tight ends out there, and still dress it up and put lipstick on the pig a little bit better and make things easier for Rudolph.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can do it out of any personnel. This isn't about a fullback specifically. It's just about being able to have one play to set up another and have, basically being able to run the same play out of different looks, or be able to run different plays out of, the same look. I mean, it's just about being able to have timing and structure and a flow to the offense, and it goes back to identity. And they're in midseason trying to adjust to Rudolph. I know it's probably hard to try to reset and adjust when you're kind of in the middle of everything. Maybe during the bye week you can take some time and rework this offense, but this team has no identity, especially on the offensive side of the football. And when you don't have that, for a young quarterback to not have that identity and not have a structure and flow and kind of a real solid game plan where everyone knows what this team's trying to do, you just get scattershot. You get inconsistent results. And this offense is worse right now than inconsistent. They're just bad.
And then Richard, I agree with Richard Sherman's comment as well too. You don't have a guy, you don't have a guy that can go off schedule like Roethlisberger. Mm-hmm. That really changes the aspect. And we talked about the big play differential the other day on the podcast and all. A lot. How many of those explosive plays over the years have come out of obviously Antonio Brown provided a lot of them, but how many of them came off schedule?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of. I mean, the Jacksonville game last year, the one to AB, where AB made a play, but Ben extended the play. Yeah, a ton of them come off schedule.
And if you don't have those big plays, if you just try to completely small ball this thing, the 49ers essentially small balled, but they were getting chunk plays off of that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, small ball isn't bad in general. It's just you got to have a good run game, a good offensive line, and an identity offensively. They can hit the big play when teams finally try to stop the run. So this offense isn't capable. The Steelers' offense isn't capable of it because they don't have those things right now. They don't have that element. But again, it goes back to identity. Until the Steelers find that, they're going to be spinning their wheels the rest of the way.
So definitely a big chore. Look, I mean, if you want a perfect week to try to get yourself right against a not great defense, and second week with your quarterback starting the game, this is the week.
Yeah, you're at home. It's obviously a Monday night game, but you got an extra day to prepare. And yeah, the Bengals defense, especially that run defense, has been poor. So if you can't run this week, then you're in big trouble.
Exactly. And one of the things, I guess now do we have anything so we can start getting into kind of a breakdown of the game here?
Yeah, I don't have anything else. We can talk about Cincinnati.
We're on to Cincinnati now, as Belichick would say. Some of the things the Steelers like to do bread and butter wise, they better be able to do it against this Bengals team. We saw the Bills be able to do that. We saw the power, and you and I already talked. And look, over the years, the Steelers have had success running the power with a fullback, without a fullback, kind of things. Obviously, they'll probably have to. You think they'll line up Vannett as a fullback in this game?
Yeah, someone asked me that. Maybe. He's a little too tall for my liking, but you can run power with him as an offset tight end and just pull him across. So you can kind of do some fullback-like things with him at a kind of a tight end H-back type of role. Maybe once or twice you'll see it, but I think it'll be more of a tight end.
I went back trying to look in quickly through his Ohio State tape to try to see if I could find anything with him as in the eye or something, as a fullback, and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, well, good luck finding a fullback in college football in general.
Right.
I hate that kind of stuff.
I mean, obviously a lot of stuff with him, H-back and split zone, and the Bills, old man Frank Gore ran well, against the Bengals, running that split zone, running that power. There's two plays that I have up on the Twitter machine, Alex, him almost really being untouched up the gut. And it's split zone stuff that the Steelers have run for how long? And power has been a staple of what the Steelers like to do for a long time. Now, you also see them do that toss with that other running back of theirs, to the outside, with a guard pulling. I think you can do that. Obviously, the pin and pull stuff works right into both what Jalen Samuels and James Conner can do effectively if you block it up right. And the other thing here is we talked a lot about this team supposedly using the two running backs in the same backfield for a lot of training camp. Hey, this would be the week to get those guys on the field, 5-6 plays doing something like that.
Yeah, I'm all for it at this point. The Bengals have one of the worst run defenses in football. They're allowing 4.9 yards per carry. That's 27th in the NFL. They've allowed 16 runs of 10-plus yards. That's 31st in the NFL. The only worst team is Miami, which is, a really low bar. But I don't know if I'd run perimeter too much. I just want to get downhill. I'm running power for sure. I'm running some duo, some ace blocks. I'm attacking these linebackers. Their linebacking core is still not good. They haven't made a lot of upgrades there. It's been the Achilles heel for at least a year now, probably two. I'm just trying to get downhill. I think whenever you've had success with the running game, which has been far and few between, it's been when you've gone downhill, when you try to get on the outside. I can't think of one good perimeter run this team's had this year, so I'm just trying to get downhill, be physical, let Connor fall forward.
Well, they also haven't given Jalen Samuels many opportunities to run on the edge.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't even been a back issue on the outside. They just can't block it. I mean, you're trying to do perimeter runs against, I assume, 8-man boxes. I mean, it's just going to be tough sledding. I'm just trying to get downhill, get a little physical.
Here's a play that I'm looking at from the game against the Bills the other day as well too, and it was just kind of a misdirection to their right. The running back takes the jab step to the right, and you have the tight end coming across the formation and getting to the outside there, and they got Dunlap to wrong arm that thing first of all. So the tight end, once the tight end doesn't have to commit. And this is San Francisco. I'm talking about running it against the Bengals, not Buffalo. Sorry. Once they got the tight Dunlap to wrong arm the tight end coming across the formation, he doesn't have to attack that defensive end then. He can go out there in space to the next level, and then they didn't have a good crack and replace on that play either. And then the running back, I think it was Mustard, on the play, ended up getting a big run on that one. So I think you can do that kind of stuff. I expect to see them at least try that Monday night. And
what run scheme is that? That's a gap scheme? I couldn't picture it.
Let me send you the tweet here.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. Power's been successful. I remember that game, I forget how many years ago it was, where they ran Power in a 4-minute offense and just closed it out with chunk run and chuck run and just wore that Bengals defense down with power. So I'm all for that. This team's got to get back to its roots, get back to its identity, and forget about what other teams are doing and figure out what your team does well. And I'm all for that.
Yeah, but wait, I just sent that. Did I send that to you?
Yeah, you got that to me.
Okay.
That's split zone?
Huh?
Is that a split zone?
A little bit. I mean, you look at look at the line, the way the line's attacking, a little bit more misdirection in there.
And then the tight end is I wonder if that's by design, kind of this arc block from the tight end. I don't know.
Well, that's why I say the Dunlap wrong arms that. So
yeah, but I don't know if that was totally by design, where they just figured that the end came inside and the tight end still didn't pick him up. Or
well, if the end stays outside, the tight end's got to block that.
Yeah, well, even usually you see them just get blocked up no matter what. But
I think right. Well, we don't know exactly how the design is, but I mean, if that end's going to wrong arm you, then I think the tight end has the freedom to make the decision to go to the next level or not.
Yeah. Or just banking on being able to outrun that big 4-3 end. But yeah, I mean,
obviously, if that's going to get contained properly, and Dunlap takes on the tight end with the right arm and sets the edge,
sure,
that forces the running back inside, and that's what you want to happen. Then
but there was a big hole inside on that one too,
right? Because of the crack, right?
Yeah, right. I see it's the receiver coming on the crack. Yeah, I mean, that's wheelhouse, power, split zone, duo. That's my run scheme.
Well, and you said, but I do think you have to look at what other teams have done successfully, and then implement that in,
Well, you have to find the balance between what other teams have done well, what works against the Bengals defense, but what also you do effectively too.
Right,
that's how you have your identity.
But the Steelers can run that.
Yeah, I didn't know what play it was you were talking about until I saw. Yeah, they run split zone. I mean, that's what the play is, and that's fine. I mean, they've done that before.
And then the other play, I got two other. I got more of a true, duo split zone, that the Bills ran against the Bengals last week as well too, and just Gord just goes right up the gut on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then of course they run the power as well too. But
they got to get to these linebackers too. Too many linebackers for 49ers last week were just uncovered and free, and that's one reason why this run game was so poor, because these linebackers were just unblocked and able to read and fill the gap.
Here we are giving color to a play that people can't see. Shame on us. But it's in my Twitter feed. Alex, retweet that so it's easy for people to find there, so they can see, kind of follow along what we just talked about, the play that we're talking about there. Okay, what else? I mean, here's the thing about the Bengals. They put one of their younger cornerbacks, looked like he was up and coming, and might potentially have played some more in the slot this week as well. Put him on IR yesterday. He was also their kick returner, and a pretty good. He had a kick return called back against the Bengals last week because of a kind of a bogus hold, I think, on Auden Tate there as well. So he's out this week. They were missing B.W. Webb in the slot last week. It sounds like B.W. Webb might be back. I'm praying he is. But it's either going to be B.W. Webb or Tony McRae in the slot. And that matches up real well for the Steelers. That's why I said, I think last week, man, I understand them having to go heavy and play some small ball in this game, but you cannot ignore running some 11 personnel in this to get that Bengals sub package on the field, because you're going to have some tasty matchups in this thing if you get their sub package on the field.
I agree 100%. That's a great point, Dave. Carl Dunbar. I just love the phrase he talks about. And this is for the defensive line, but it applies to I think anyone. The fish of the week, the weakness of that team, the guy that you got to go after, the guy you should be able to win against. And I think if there's any position, it's going to be that nickel spot. So get Juju inside, maybe even move Deontay Johnson inside a little bit. Attack that slot spot.
I mean, if you have Juju in your fantasy league, this is the week to start him. I think. Not that you.
Is there any concern
anyway.
that they're going to travel because like Kirkpatrick can move around and they obviously know the weakness they have with slot? Is that a possibility?
I suppose. I mean, that's not really their MO, though, is it? I mean, I'm trying to think back to previous tape studies with them.
Right.
I mean, I think Kirkpatrick normally likes to stay on that left side.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think William Jackson normally likes to stay on that right side. I'm not going to say that they won't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would look if I'm their defensive coordinator. If I think I can do that, I might do that because Juju's the one that scares me the most on this.
Right. Right. So Deontay Johnson's going to see William Jackson and Richard Sherman back-to-back weeks. Hello, rookie. Hey, that's good.
Well, here's the thing, though. Hey, if they let, we'll find out. We'll find out one way or the other here, obviously, at the start of the game. But if they do have one of those outside guys travel with Juju in the slot, and I don't think they will, and even if they do, I'll be surprised if they do it a lot. Maybe they'll surprise. But if they do, somebody's got to line up on that corner.
Yeah, for sure.
On that nickel, you know? I mean, are they really going to – they would probably be more apt to put McCray on the outside than they would B.W. Webb. But if I line up and if they're going to be in a one deep look with one of those cornerbacks traveling with Juju in the slot, then Mason's got to take a shot deep to either Washington or Holton or whoever, Deontay on the outside. If they want to play that, you got to make a pay, and somebody's going to have to make a play, man.
Yeah, I agree. If they're going to stack the box, what's the best way to counter that? You can't run into a brick wall. You got to go over the top. You got to take advantage of one-on-one matchups. That was a great play by Mason Rudolph to Deontay Johnson last week, looking off the single-eye safety and getting one-on-one coverage. So that's the way you got to approach it. You can't play scared. You got to give Rudolph freedom to check out of some of these runs, have at least one or two checks against those kind of looks at minimum, and just give yourself a chance.
Was it Paul Dehner talking about that Darius Phillips?
Yeah, him go. I was really surprised he got put on IR, and I think Bengals fans were too.
I think that knee injury ended up being worse than they thought. So I mean that's a clear win for the Steelers because I really think the way he was starting to play, and he had it was the interception that he got against the Bills really wasn't much to talk about. It was an ill-advised throw by Allen, their quarterback there, but I mean it still counts. And but I kind of viewed him, especially what Paul Dehner was telling us was Phillips kind of up and coming guy, and he played like 20. And B.W. Webb missed that game last week with an injury. Once again, it sounds like according to Zach Taylor that B.W. Webb's going to be back playing this week as well. They don't have many options there, and B.W. is probably not going to be 100% with that arm or whatever injury that he has anyway. And well, let's face it, B.W. Webb probably in his last season in the NFL, McCray's not much to write home about either. So you got to get that. You got to get their sub package on the field and take it. There'd be a couple times here where I'd have 4 wide receivers on the field maybe because that'll help you get past your tight ends not being out there a few plays too.
Right, that's a good point. Yeah, for sure, I would do that. Attack those linebackers. You can attack it in a variety of ways, but Vannett could have a good game. Running back Jalen Samuels, a chance for him to catch some passes, do some work. These linebackers.
The wheel is still undefeated, Alex.
It is still undefeated. I'm all for that. But yeah, I mean, it's basically the same linebacking core as last year. Nick Vigil's kind of their every down guy. He's an average linebacker at best. You got Preston Brown. They drafted Jermaine Pratt, but he's not playing a lot right now. They try to, even when they are against heavier personnel, they'll kind of be in their nickel defense and kind of have a safety rolling down, and they only have 2 linebackers on the field. So attack those linebackers. Attack Preston Brown. The guy can't move. Go after him in the pass game with Vannett and Samuels. That's what I would do.
And it goes back to, I think, again, get a couple snaps with Connor and Samuels on the field if you're going to put them in kind of a heavy, the defense in a heavy grouping, and then you can split Samuels out and do some of the things with him.
Another way to play eliminate some tight end snaps too.
Amen, brother.
Because you probably can't have. You got to be careful with Vannett. You can't overload him too much. So if you can kind of get a snap or two with him out of it, yeah, 4 personnel or 4 receiver personnel, Pony, I think those are great ideas.
Okay, so then maybe we can trim Vannett down. Can we trim Vannett down to maybe 35 to 40 plays possibly?
Yeah, if you do, let's say 35 for Vannett, let's say even just 20 for Vance, running 65 snaps as an offense total. You got 10 plays where you're going 4 receiver or Pony. I think that works. I think they should hire us. I think we're doing all right.
I think we looked at some tape this week here. Jesse Bates is not having a great season either. I still like the kid, but he's made a lot of bad reads so far.
Yeah.
So I think teams are kind of on to, it goes, and I hate to credit Keith Butler, but it goes back to, if you can identify that post safety a lot in games, it really makes a difference. And it sure seems like they'd like to keep him as the post safety, right? They don't interchange him and Sean Williams. Sean Williams is a heavy hitter. They'd like to have him in the box. So I think you can also go into this game having a lot of confidence from Mason Rudolph of knowing who the post safety is going to be.
Yeah, they're pretty clear. They're like Pittsburgh, where they kind of identify, who the free safety is, who the strong safety is. Both those guys, Bates and Williams, leading tacklers on the team. Both guys had over 100 tackles last year. So it's kind of like good. Pittsburgh, where, your safeties are making a lot of tackles. Kind of tells you about the state of that defense. So not getting a whole lot better.
Up front, obviously, you don't want to give their pass rush a lot of time. Hello, Alejandro Villanueva. Carl Lawson, I think, is supposed to play in this one as well. And that long arm of his scares the living you-know-what out of me.
And Villanueva's not playing with much power this year, and that's going to be an issue. You got to knock down that arm. You want a long arm. You got to attack that joint, attack that elbow, break that arm down if you want to defeat the long arm. So Villanueva's got to really bounce back.
But really, it's kind of both of our boys here, Lawson and Billings. Billings is playing well this year, and we know Geno Atkins has been some kryptonite for DeCastro over the years.
Right, former first-round pick and alternate universe of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Andrew Billings, back in the starting lineup. I guess he's playing well this year, especially in run defense.
And then Hubbard is an underrated end, I think, right now.
Leading the team with 2 sacks. So, Ohio State boy.
All right, but I mean, this is a defense that if you stay on schedule, if you run the football well, and look, you make no mistake about it. I wonder how many times I say make no mistake about it. What's another popular phrase of mine that I overuse?
Oh, I don't know. None. You just
look. I think I use look. Make no mistake about it. I'm sure there's about 13 other idioms or whatnot that I use. But regardless, you have to run on. You have to be able to run on him. You have to keep Mason Rudolph out of as many third and longs as possible. In this game, we absolutely have to see Rudolph be able to push the football down the field in the air with more success. Now, I think there's still a lot of people looking at that passing chart and gritting their teeth, and I understand that. But let's not forget that there were a couple drops in there, And then, we talked about the Johnson out route and all, not possibly running through that. It doesn't really absolve anything, Rudolph passing chart, but I think it adds a little bit more context to it. He needs to play obviously better, and they need to allow him to throw the football down the field. They're going to dare him to throw the football down the field in this game.
Every defense will, until this offense proves that they can be able to win vertically consistently.
This could be a huge, or maybe huge is the wrong adjective. It could be a significant grow up game for him if he has a good game.
Yeah, I'm banking on it. Let's flip to the Bengals offense, and he starts with Andy Dalton. You got to get after him. He's been sacked 11 times in 3 games, to at least 2 in every single game. I think 4 or more in 2 of these things. Got to get pressure. This offensive line for the Bengals is not particularly good, especially at tackle. If you can't get pressure, then you got a real problem.
Yeah, and on Watt going up against who's on that right side for them?
Is it Bobby Hart?
Oh, yeah, I think it is. Yeah, golly, he should obliterate. He should really have a lot of wins in this on some third downs. And obviously, if it was anybody other than Bud Dupree on the other side against Andre Smith, that should be the same.
Dupree's run defense has actually been really good. I just want a little caveat. I think his hand use and ability to defeat blocks in the run game has been impressive.
I mean, their tackles are not impressive at all. Now, it sounds like to hear Zach Taylor talk that they're going to have Michael Jordan back at left guard this week, so that'll be a little bit of a plus for them there. But I mean, from tackle to tackle, they're not good.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not good overall. Now you could probably say the same thing about the Steelers and their. And I don't know. Here's one thing that stuck out in that Steelers defensive tape, at least on the All 22. And I think Matthew has an All 22 up or coming up or I think it just went up. As a matter of fact, Stephon Tuitt beasted in that game against the 49ers. He really looks on top of his game right now.
Yeah, that was the best game he's ever played, even coming off a 2.5 sack game against Seattle. I mean, he just owned Mike McGlinchey, who's a former top 10 pick. So Tuitt might just go berserk this week and walk himself into 3 sacks.
They need that, and they, if I don't know, we're gonna see a lot of. They're gonna try to get the Steelers sub package on the field in this one.
I think everyone's kind of a base 11 personnel team, so that just lends itself to it naturally. Steelers will stay in nickel even against some heavier personnel. So, yeah, I mean, the Steelers are going to be in their sub a good bit. I think with a defensive line, you're going to see a lot of stunts in games. That's been really successful against the Bengals in the past and against a line that's young and a lot of guys coming in and out, not a lot of continuity. I think you can run a lot of stunts in games to get some additional pressure.
The one thing that stuck out to me when we're watching their offense, and I watched more of their defense than I did their offense this week.
Well, I watched more of their offense than their defense.
Okay, well, all right. The thing that stuck out to me, they just don't look as fluid as I would have thought a Zach Taylor offense would look, especially him, and not so much window dressing as I would think coming out of a McVay, kind of school or whatnot. They really look clunky, and now obviously getting in third downs a lot, I think plays a big part in that. They're not going to have AJ Green this week. I kind of threw this out. I'm not drinking the John Ross Kool-Aid just yet. He's had some big plays so far, but I think they've been more misplays by the opposing defense that have kind of led to that. One was a trick play, kind of on a wheel to John Ross. The other was the missed time leap by the Seattle safety that led to a score there. I mean, he's obviously got the speed. They'll use him. They'll move him around. Tyler Boyd's probably going to be the one they use the most in the slot, at least what they've done so far this year. So the Steelers have gotten killed in the slot this year. How much do you put? And I'll let you kind of take over being so you probably watched a little bit more offensive tape than I have so far. You got to defend that. Everything starts at shutting down Tyler Boyd and obviously the run, but Tyler Boyd's secondary, and especially when he's in the slot.
Yeah, he's their biggest threat. He's a big third down contributor, 7 receptions on third down. That's tied 7th of all receivers, 7 first downs on third down, which is tied 3rd in the NFL at all positions. You're right. It doesn't look quite as efficient and fluid as probably a Zach Taylor offense will by week 15. But I think, you're 3 weeks in, new head coach, new system, you're going to try to work out some of those bugs. But they can get vertical on you. That's the big threat for this Bengals offense. They can get the deep ball. John Ross is averaging over 22 yards a catch. I'm probably a little higher on him than you are. Just some of the wheel routes and stuff, the double moves, the route combinations that they run that can be effective. Do I have the plays? Yeah, they have 14 passes of 20-plus yards. That's tied 5th in the NFL. The Steelers have given up 15 passes of 20-plus yards. That's tied 28th worst in football. So you got to defend the big play, and they got weapons, and I think enough for the scheme right now to be able to get you deep.
You got to get them off schedule, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, their run game sucks. They're averaging 2.4 yards a carry. Mixon's 2.7. Doesn't have a run longer than 10 yards. They have 1 rushing touchdown through 3 games, and that was by Andy Dalton. So, I mean, their run defense is bad. I mean, Mixon's a good back.
The run offense.
The run offense.
The Steelers' run defense has been bad, too.
Yeah, I guess it does apply with my misspeaking there. But yeah, I mean, you should be able to shut down this Bengals rushing attack.
How are they at selling play action? I didn't focus in on that.
They do it a good bit. They open up, I think, week 2 against San Francisco with play action with a false key by the guard pulling to really try to sell it. They haven't been – I don't know if they've gotten a lot of big plays off of it, but they will run it. But they're not San Francisco where they're a well-oiled machine in that respect.
I mean, you got to think. I mean, this is a copycat league. How much of what the 49ers did will we see them try to do?
Again, you got to stay true to yourself. I think each team, that's what, when you're 0-3, you got to get back to your basics. But yeah, I think you're going to see some play action. You're going to see, the run schemes and the play action schemes look similar. I think you'll see a lot of empty. If the Bengals are smart and Zach Taylor's a smart guy, you're going to go empty. This Bengals team can do it. I have a play here against the 49ers. They went empty, formation in the boundary, a post-wheel concept for a big play. I think that hit John Ross for a ton of yards. So if I was ever scheming against the Steelers, I'm just going empty like 95% of the time and daring the Steelers to try to defend it because they just cannot defend it to save their life.
They have never used Giovanni Bernard the way I've thought that they should have the entire time that he's been there,
I agree. It's like Duke Johnson, Cleveland used him.
Right. Same thing, man. You got to move. And I guess now kind of with the Steelers and Jalen Samuels, right? Get that guy out on a linebacker or something, or on a Terrell Edmonds or something. Try to take advantage of those matchups in the passing game with those guys. You're going to see a lot of screens, I think, in this game with them to try to get them out. And Joe Mixon can home run you in a heartbeat as well too. But what we've seen, especially since Andy Dalton has kind of come to town over the years with Cincinnati, if you get them off schedule, you get a lead on them, you get them where that they're going to be in obvious passing situations, and this year will be no different when you look at their offensive line. In fact, this might be the worst offensive line they've had in how long? I mean, they've had some not so good ones.
Yeah, it's a bad line. I will say they're physical though. They do play with a nasty kind of edge, and they can get some movement up front in the run game. So you got to really be able to hold your attack and hold the point of attack and hold your own against double teams if you're the defensive line.
What I'm getting at is if you can pin your ears back against them and not have to worry about the play action or the run or whatnot, as the game progresses, you should be able to get Andy Dalton on the ground quite a bit.
I have seen some man beaters too from the Bengals offense, some slant flat kind of stuff. So that's always been an issue for Pittsburgh. So something to monitor. You can probably play more zone against this team than you could say in New England.
All right. What will they do with Minka?
Just keep opening it up. Maybe more in the slot. Played a decent bit around the line of scrimmage last week, more than what I anticipated at least. But I think let him play fast and let him make plays.
All right. Anything else to add about their offense against the Steelers' defense? I mean,
no, that was the bulk of it. I mean, everyone kind of knows what the Bengals offense.
This has to be a save your job week for Keith Butler. I mean, if you give up 27 points to this Bengals offense, and you lose, I mean, it's already not pretty. It's going to be less prettier,
Yeah. Well, you got to communicate well. You can't bite. You can't take the cheese if you're the Steelers defense because the Bengals will try to bait you into some of these, double moves where they're running an out and up or wheel route or something like that. The only thing I would note with this Bengals team is special teams. Alex Erickson, I assume, is going to be probably their kick and punt returner with Phillips out. He wasn't doing kicks to start this year, but Phillips is now on IR. And Erickson's busted some big plays against his team. Remember Chris Boswell to make that tackle, that shoestring tackle? So
down the left sideline.
Yeah, and the punt coverage for the Steelers last week was poor. Kick return's been fine, but gotta tighten it up on special teams. You can't let them get that one special teams play and the half, momentum kind of changing play that could really turn the tide in this one.
All right, I think we've knocked that out pretty good.
Yep, that's all for me. Before we get to our picks, where you probably killing me this year in picks because I don't think I'm doing too well. Why don't you, Dave, tell us about our friends over at MyBookie?
I will, Alex. If you found $100 on the street, would you pick it up or keep walking? Of course, you'd bend over and pick up that money. You'd probably give it to Dave. So why do you keep on picking winners and not betting on them? That's why I go to MyBookie. It's fast, it's easy, and they pay when you win. Let's face it, where you're betting at is just as important as who you're betting on. I wouldn't be telling you guys and gals to bet with them if they weren't the best in the business. So do the smart thing. If you're going to bet this football season, this weekend specifically, you should be betting. I'm giving you winners, people. Thursday night, I'm giving you free. Dave's giving away free money. on Thursday night. Do the smart thing. If you're going to bet this football season, bet with mybookie.ag. Did you know you can bet on games after kickoff? If by the second half it looks like your bet is going to lose, you just take the other side during the second half. If you're the kind of guy or gal that likes to bet a little and win a lot, try a few of their 3 or 4 or 5 or 7 team parlays. If all your picks come in, you multiply your winnings. And they got a lot of contests as well, too. And no matter how you bet, the NFL season is the best time of year to do it. If you join now, and hopefully you will, MyBookie will double your first deposit if you use promo code TERRIBLE. That's terrible to activate the offer. That's promo code TERRIBLE. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid. And once again, we certainly do appreciate MyBookie being a sponsor of the Terrible Podcast. I use them. I love them. Been with us now 3 years, I think.
I thought I had you this Thursday. I thought I was finally going to win one over you, but the Eagles just had to come back, and Devontae Adams had to get hurt.
I had a good feeling about that one last night. All right, let's see how good of feelings we can get about this week's games as I pull up the lines from mybookie.ag here. Carolina Panthers, Alex, at Houston. Houston laying 4.5 at home.
I think Kyle Allen's starting for the Panthers after that great debut. I'm going to say that it kind of comes back to earth, though. I'm going to take Houston in this one.
Have you seen that meme video up? You remember the Play 60 kid from several years ago? That they have Kyle Allen's. Kyle Allen grew up, or Kyle Allen was the Play 60 kid. If anybody gets a chance, look at that. That's well done, right there. Grow up to be your mom's favorite player. And what side? I was too busy.
Houston.
You're taking Houston laying the 4.5 here.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think J.J. Watt has a huge game in this one. Give me Houston at home laying the 4.5. Woo! AFC North battle. Cleveland Browns at Baltimore Ravens. I'm rooting for the asteroid in this one. Cleveland Browns on the road against Ravens. Like I said, the Ravens laying 7 at home. Where is that bandwagon seems to be emptying out quick, right? They took away that preseason Super Bowl trophy from the Browns right now, put it on layaway right now. What's going to happen in this one?
Yeah, it's a big line, but man, I'm thinking about it. This Ravens defense, they're so complex. They confuse the heck out of quarterbacks. They have so many good answers and people adjust on the fly. I love that Ravens defense. They lost a lot, but man, they schemed that up so well. It'd be nice to see that in Pittsburgh. So give me Baltimore to win by 10.
Wow, no way.
No way.
Cleveland played the Rams pretty decent. And they had a chance to win the game there.
All right.
Who are the Ravens? Look, the Ravens are better offensively than I thought they would be. They're a little bit better defensively than I thought they would be. But who have they played, so far?
You're right. That's fair. I mean, they hung with the Chiefs. They were in there.
But there were a couple throws that Jackson made that should have been.
Fair point.
Yeah, that's not gonna. He's not gonna get away with that too many more times here. I guess what I'm saying here is I want Cleveland plus the 7, and boy, I might take the money line on this one too. I might take the Browns straight up in this one as well too. If you're a Steelers fan, what are you rooting for in this one?
Man, I was thinking about that. I guess you want Cleveland to win just to bottle up the AFC North. You don't want Baltimore to get too big of a lead here.
Obviously, the Steelers don't win.
Doesn't matter.
Don't matter. But I'm with you. I think you got to kind of root for the Browns in this one as well too. So with all that, like I said, give me the Browns to possibly even win this one outright. So I want the plus 7 here. Washington Redskins are not going to change quarterbacks just yet. They go on the road against the New York Giants and the Fighting Daniel Joneses. Now he didn't look half bad, did he, in that game the other day? Giants laying 3 at home. Alex.
Yeah, trying to prove a lot of people wrong from the draft when they took him at 6. Yeah, give me the Giants in this one. Washington, just no identity. Run game's been a mess. A lot of injuries. Still no Trent Williams. And the Giants, even without Barkley, they got enough pieces. Evan Ingram's really having a breakout year, so give me the Giants in this one.
Yeah, this one scares the heck out of me. But Giants at home. Okay, I'm with you. Give me the Giants later 3. Chargers are going to get Melvin Gordon. A couple of my fantasy teams will welcome back Melvin Gordon with open arms here. Not this weekend, obviously, but next. But they've been okay without him. Eckler's done a good job. They've got a nice little committee going there regardless there. So Chargers on the road against the Miami Dolphins. 15.5 on the road line.
I think I'm picking the Dolphins to cover every week, and I've been wrong every week. So I guess I got to go with the Chargers in this one. I'm sure I'll be wrong this week, but Miami, are they gonna win a game?
I don't know. It won't be this week, I don't think.
Yeah.
You know what? They can't. They got to cover one of these times. I think the Chargers win this, but give me the Dolphins plus the 15.5. Oakland Raiders on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. Brissett looked good the other day there. What's the status on T.Y. Hilton on this one?
I think it was questionable last I saw. I can look it up real quick here while you tell me what the line is on this one.
All right, the line. The Colts are at home, laying 7 against Gruden's boys.
Hilton hasn't practiced all week. Did not practice on Thursday. Probably looking more doubtful than questionable. I think the Colts hang on, but the Raiders cover.
I think I'm with you on this one. I think it's a close game. I think the Colts win, but give me the Raiders plus the 7. Kansas City Chiefs. This should be a decent one. Chiefs go on the road against the Detroit Lions, who haven't been playing awful. Patrick Mahomes, boy, that kid can wing it. I mean, what they do offensively is it really helps their defense out in the process here too. Chiefs on the road, laying 7 against the Lions.
Yeah, Detroit has played well. I think it's good to recognize that, but they haven't played a team quite like KC yet, and they almost blew that game to Arizona, what ended up in a tie. Kansas City, they just throw in new pieces. Hardman just creating big plays. Give me Kansas City in this one.
Oh, this one has push written all over it. This one this one's going to come down to right at on the number. But I'll go with you. I'll take the Chiefs to lay 7 on the road against the Lions here. New England Patriots on the road against the Bills, 2 undefeated teams at this point. And this line, I mean, I realize the Patriots on the road or whatnot, but I expected this line to be a little bit larger than what it is. Patriots laying 7.5.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Buffalo's defense is, again, I say this every week, but they're really underrated. And so, I think New England wins. Like, and I'm going to have Buffalo cover. I think this is going to be a close game just because, again, Buffalo keeps a lid on it, and for whatever it's worth, the Patriots don't have James Devlin. He's done for potentially the year. He's on IR right now, and that's a big component of their offense.
I just think that Patriots defense is just too strong. I mean, they really are. They're a stronger defense, I think, this year than they were last year. Give me the Patriots to go in there and manhandle them. Once again, Patriots lay to 7.5. I'll lay it. Titans at the Falcons. Falcons at home, laying 4.
Don't like this game really at all, but I'm going to go Atlanta. These are 2 just kind of underwhelming teams, underwhelming offenses. Give me Atlanta just because that quarterback situation in Tennessee is such a mess. Is this the week Mariota's going to get benched? I mean, it feels close to it.
It does feel close to it, too. And give me Matt Ryan at home, lay the 4 points here. Tampa Bay on the road against the Rams. Wade Phillips, son of bum, versus B.A.
The stories they could tell.
Boy, I wouldn't want to be Jameis Winston, I don't think, this week. I really don't. Rams laying 9. I'll go first. Give me the Rams, -9.
Yeah, I will too, and Aaron Donald might finish this game with 9 sacks, the way this thing's shaping up.
Seattle on the road against the Cardinals. Seahawks laying 5.5 on the road.
Yeah, give me Seattle in this one. Arizona, I mean, Kyler Murray's been okay, but they're not getting enough big plays. It's just, they're building it brick by brick. It's going to take a long time, though. Give me Seattle by a touchdown.
Give me Seattle by a touchdown. I'll go with you on that one. That's going to be Dave's Stone Cold lock of the century of the week this week.
My favorite part of the podcast.
No, it's not. Vikings at Bears. The Bears -2. That Bears, Mac, and I mean that defense obviously is scary. But I think the Vikings had, and I thought Trubinsky played a much better game last weekend and all. I don't know. Bears laying 2. Alex, what do you think?
This one's tough. The Vikings have that clear-cut running attack. Dalvin Cook looks so good, but obviously that Bears front is solid as well. This feels like a field goal kind of end the game type of situation. I don't know. Give me. I wouldn't trust this one too much. Give me Minnesota though by a field goal.
I think Minnesota wins this outright as well too. Especially if they can run the ball. Obviously, you don't want Khalil Mack going after your quarterback all day. If they can keep this one close and stay on schedule, I think the Vikings can go into Chicago and win this. So give me +2 with the Vikings on this. Chargers at the Broncos. No Jalen Ramsey. That's going to be pretty big in this game. I have a feeling here. Denver at home laying 3.
Give me Jacksonville. Even without Jalen Ramsey, the Broncos are hurting with no Bryce Callahan, and they got some other injuries.
But they have Munchak.
That's another topic. But give me Gardner Minshew though. It looks like that. Did you see the photo with him and Uncle Rico yesterday? The internet's great.
The internet is undefeated, just like the wheel route. That was absolutely fantastic for them to do that. I think Vic Fangio is able to get out. Do the Broncos still not have a sack or a turnover?
I can look. I know Von Miller had the shortest press conference in the world this week, basically just saying, we're going to get after the quarterback. But it's been really surprising. You got Miller and Bradley Chubb and no sacks. I can look here.
I don't think they have a sack or turnover yet this season.
They are showing the opposing stats. Let me look. Yeah, no sacks this year. Did they have a turnover? They don't have an interception. I don't know for sure if they have a fumble recovery, but either way, it's very, very uncharacteristic of what we expected from this group.
They're going to get it.
No turnovers this year.
How rare is that 3 games in?
All right.
They're going to get a bunch of them this week. Give me Denver in a blowout.
A blowout.
A blowout over Jacksonville.
How many points are you talking about?
17.
17. Wow. All right.
Saints at home, giving up 3 to the Dallas Cowboys here. Dallas laying 3 on the road.
I think Dallas is going to have a big game. That Saints offense looked in a shell with Teddy at quarterback last week, even with a week removed, some extra time in the game plan. Kellen Moore's been a godsend for that Cowboys offense, so give me Dallas to win by 2 touchdowns.
I'm not going to go that big of I think Dallas wins this by about 7 or 8, but give me Dallas on the road laying the 3 there. And I think that's a Sunday night game as well too. So that takes us up to been waiting all week for Monday night. This line has moved a little bit. Started off with the Steelers 4.5. Right now we're looking at the Steelers at home laying 3.5.
I think we're the only ones waiting for Monday night. I don't know if the national fan base will be waiting for 0-3 versus 0-3.
Are you going to be the bad guy here?
I don't have confidence in this one, and maybe I'm being a little black and gold colored glasses here. I'm having Pittsburgh winning 2017 just because the Bengals, they should be able to run against them. If you can keep a lid on it and not allow the big play, I think with Fitzpatrick back there is going to help things out. They have tackled well enough. They got to win one at some point, right? They got to be able to open this thing up, got to be able to move the football more effectively offensively on 3rd down than they have in the past. So, tight game, but I got Pittsburgh winning 2017.
So, you're taking those 3.5 points, right?
Yeah.
Man, immediately after last week's game and then getting into the All-22 film, I had to turn it off.
Wow. When was the last time you did that?
I had to walk away from it on... What night was it? Wednesday night. I just had to put it all down because I just got so disgusted.
What was the most disgusted aspect of it?
Yes.
Was there any one particular play or moment, though?
Just a defensive play in general.
Okay.
Especially in the passing game and giving up several of those big plays there. You look at some of the end zone views and the wide open receivers where Garoppolo had his choice on quite a few of them there. Mm-hmm. If I had to pick right, I started thinking about the Bengals and being able to stretch the football field a little bit. I got really. I've talked since watching some Bengals film though. I've kind of come off the ledge, if you will, here. Look, you better get it right. If you don't get it right now, when can you get it right? Really, all those things that we talked about, we will probably get hard looks as coordinators. if this thing does not go well. I know I shouldn't, but I'm going to take the Steelers in this one. An oddball score to 18-15.
A lot of field goals in this one, it sounds like.
18-15. So they keep them under that magic number of 17-16 that Keith Butler likes to think about or talk about. And probably think and dream about. But I think they're able to get to Dalton late in this game, get a handful of sacks there, hopefully get a turnover or two. So give me that oddball score, and I'm with you. I'm taking the Bengals plus. I'm covering my butt here. I'm taking the Bengals plus the 3.5.
Wasn't there an 18-15 game where Boswell had all those field goals against Cincinnati? What year was that?
The Chiefs?
Is that the Chiefs? What game?
Wasn't that a playoff game? Was it the end of the year game? Against the Chiefs in.
I thought it was the wild. Was it the wild card game where it was the Porter incident? Was that? Am I getting myself mixed up? I just because that just when you said that it just kind of rung a bell, and now I'm on a mission to find out what that game was.
2016, 18-16.
18 against the Browns.
Well, no, it was against the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Against the Chiefs. You're right. And the wild card against the Bengals. They're both 18-16.
Tell me that again, because my wife don't tell me that enough.
That you were right?
Yeah, go ahead. Say it a few more times.
Well, we were both right. You were right, I was right. Yeah, the divisional game against the Chiefs and the wildcard game 2016 against the Bengals, both were 18-16 finals.
Which one?
Both of them. The wild card in 2016 against the Bengals and the divisional game 2017 against the Chiefs. Both
okay, we're both right. All right.
Yeah, both right.
All right. They better win. That's all I got to say. And
Only one team in NFL history has ever made the playoffs 0-4, the 92 Chargers, and the Steelers are not the 92 Chargers.
All right, where shall we go here? To the email machine?
Yep, email machine.
I think, let's see here. We'll start with, this one's from Brogan from University of Iowa. I don't recognize Brogan's name. Maybe he has emailed again or before. On Wednesday, you talked about running bunch switches, etc., to create more separation for our wide receivers. I agree we need to run more bunch set. If I'm not mistaken, that's what we ran on the Juju 76-yard touchdown. What is a switch? And am I correct about the bunch set of Juju's touchdown?
I'll let you take the first part because it was your idea, but you are correct. That was at a bunch on the Juju touchdown.
Right. Just switch route is when these guys basically, you see them cross or switch routes, off the line. You can have switch routes happen right off the line, or you can have them work downfield as well. Generally, especially when you're talking about the Steelers, you don't see a lot of downfield switch routes, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You see them more within 7 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, if you want an example of a switch route at the release, check out AB's touchdown against the Patriots last year. The first one that was a switch release to get AB down the seam.
But you are correct. They ran that out a bunch there, and with these as we talked about with these Bengals corners, whoever's playing in the slot, I try to make it as hard as possible on that guy and trying to pick these guys coming out, coming off these switch routes here.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was going to say just really quickly, since you brought up Juju in the touchdown, he's got 5 touchdowns in his career of 75-plus yards, the most in NFL history by a player before turning 23, broke a tie of Patrick Peterson and Gale Sayers. So Juju set an NFL record Sunday.
Did you pull that one out, or did Matthew?
I did.
Okay, good job. Good job. Did that not make the stats of the weird?
Nope, I was a late addition. I didn't realize it until I was thinking about it last night.
All right, 4 quick thoughts from our buddy Jay Body. If the Bengals don't retain Billings, would he be a good candidate in free agency next year?
Not a bad idea. I haven't really thought about it.
I don't know what I haven't really. I mean, I've obviously watched him. I don't know what his price tag is going to be though. But if he's in that doesn't play a lot potential nose tackle realm, then most definitely, yeah. I mean, I think he could be. I mean, it depends on how cheap he is, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes back to them having pre-draft interest in Billings, and although obviously they didn't draft Billings, they liked him to some degree, and he seems to be playing well this year, playing well in a contract season. So yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Again, I have not thought about it really at all, but that's as good a name as any.
And Billings, was a guy the Steelers show. The thing is, the Bengals should have some cap space to be able to maybe go after him. I mean, to re-sign him and all. I don't think they're obviously going to franchise tag him or anything. If we develop a winning streak, a bye is the absolutely worst thing for this team that needs momentum, not a reset. Guaranteed loss after the bye. Let's get that win streak knocked out first.
Yeah. Oh, I thought we're putting the cart before the horse. That's a good problem to have right now.
Yeah, we'll tackle that one in a few more weeks, hopefully. Right. If there's a head coach candidate that the team really likes next year, they should be aggressive and move on from Tomlin, regardless of the season pans out. Slow starts have consistently doomed this team. Yeah, whatever, Barbati. They're not. I don't see it. Do you, Alex?
Well, I don't think that's the mindset you go into a head coach. You don't fire a head coach to try to hopefully get one guy. What happens if you don't get that guy for a particular reason? But it would be – I mean, I know that obviously the injury to Ben's going to be used as the excuse. But we talked about this before the season. If this team misses the playoffs, Tomlin's heat gets a little warm, right? There's got to be some level of pressure hanging into 2020, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, first season up under 500 and not making the playoffs for a second season in a row, you're damn right. It gets hot. But you don't I don't think he's going to get fired.
No, I don't think he's going to get fired either. I don't think Fichtner's going to get fired, even though coming back, Ben's not going to want a new OC. Right or wrong, that's just how it's going to go.
And last part here, Chris Sims has lamented the five-man rush as a poor play call on a consistent basis. It would be interesting to see a study on how they are working out for Pittsburgh. Are the long conversions and crucial third downs coming off of a five-man rush? I don't really care too much about Chris Sims' analysis, to be honest with you. Not one of my favorites, but thoughts on the five-man rush, Alex?
So Sims is saying the Steelers are rushing five, and that's why they're giving up third and long?
He has lamented the five-man rush as a poor play call on a consistent basis. It would be interesting to see a study on how they are working out for Pittsburgh. Are the long conversions and crucial third downs coming off of a five-man rush? What does your charting say on that?
I'd have to look. We can pull that up, but I don't know what it says.
All right. Maybe if you think about it, rehash this next week sometimes. What's your general rebuttal to that?
I didn't get that feeling, but I'd have to look at the numbers. Since we can verify that with the numbers, I'll have to look at my charting.
He says, thanks, guys. Been listening since 2012 and haven't missed a show. Wow. Thanks, Jay Barbati. John Caldarelli is another regular listener here. Impact of Minkah Fitzpatrick acquisition on re-signing Hargrave. I know that trading Javon Hargrave this season might be a feasible way of acquiring draft capital, but might there be a reasonable alternative? No doubt Fitzpatrick fulfills a real need. With the injury of starting free safety Sean Davis, who is also a free agent next year, his defensive diversity has also been lauded, ? Beyond his obvious talent, let's discuss how his friendly salary cap impact re-signing Javon Hargrave this offseason. With no need to spend cap money on a first round pick this upcoming draft and Fitzpatrick's friendly salary, could the Steelers now more fully compete to re-sign Hargrave? If they believe in his talent, they might value his asset with a long-term contract. The trade of Minkah Fitzpatrick might impact the future of Javon Hargrave as a more valued Steeler. You can't look at it that way, John. I'm sorry. Too, you talk about not having a first-round draft pick. Okay, you save what, a couple $3 million in cap space after displacement, maybe, and all like that. I mean, that throw that aspect out right there. Don't even look at bring into the picture that they don't have a first-round draft pick to sign there. Second, they just. You got to look at how they're going to use the player, the amount of snaps, and then put is he worth what his price tag is going to be, and then also don't forget you're going to have to probably going to re-up Cameron Hayward to a lucrative deal once again as well too. So with all that, you're not going to probably slap the franchise tag on Hargrave and all. They've made it this far with not getting him re-signed. I just don't see how. And throw the Fitzpatrick stuff out of it as well, too. I mean, yeah, he does have a cheap contract and yada, yada. I just don't see how any of that impacts now Would they like to maybe try to get Hargrave back? Absolutely, but I just don't think they're going to be able to do it at his price tag, and he might be long gone by then anyway.
I'm with you. They weren't going to spend big money on a safety this offseason. I don't believe they were. If they were going to do anything, they were going to draft one. The money you save for not having first-round picks is a drop in the bucket compared to what Hargrave's going to demand. He knows he's going to be just a couple weeks away from cashing out, provided he's with this team, doesn't get dealt. You know my feelings on that. But bottom line, no, it's not changing Hargrave's future or status at all.
And another loss or two here, then you're going to probably see a post or two up on Steelers Depot about the possibility of trading Hargrave. You know, the toughest aspect of that would, being able to get a team to give you a third-round draft pick potentially for a guy that maybe they're not entirely sure. A team that trades for Hargrave, has to know they're going to be able to re-sign him, extend him either right away or place the franchise tag on him next offseason. One of those two things, and that kind of complicates the matter. When it comes to him. Now, if you're making a run for this thing and a guy like Hargrave you think can put you over the top, yeah. But I mean, do you go all in even with the nose and give up a potential third round pick, for a guy that you're not sure you're going to have past this year?
Yeah, well, I think if you're any team that would trade for Hargrave would have the understanding of what his general market's going to be,
sure,
knowing their cap space if they can afford it. And honestly, I know obviously we talked about the trade deadline. If you're at Pittsburgh, do you maybe make that trade a little before, a week or two before the trade deadline, to kind of incentivize a team to give up that third round pick because they're going to have him for an extra week or two, which may make a big difference. So, I was thinking about writing about it whenever the time comes, but I would fully support it, provided this team can't turn it around.
Yeah, I think we're a loss this week, you're really thinking about a lot more.
If they lose this week, the season is 100% over. That's fair to say. Yeah. In terms of them making the playoffs.
Yeah. From Adam Diamond writes in, hello, Dave, huge fan of the show. With advanced analytics being more and more prevalent in the NFL, I often hear Warren Sharp and others discussing conversion rates with certain personnel packages down the distance game scenarios. My concern is Mike Tomlin is not adjusting to the more modern style NFL style with Sean McVay's, Kyle Shanahan's, Doug Peterson's, and Josh McDaniels are always one step ahead. In addition, the analytics say being safe and restricting an experienced quarterback only hurts Mason Rudolph's chances of being successful. Do you see the Steelers coaching staff embracing the advanced analytics in the future? They're definitely not embracing it as much as I'd like them to.
Yeah, and they just lost their top analytics guy, Kareem Kasem, this offseason. So they have a guy, Jay Whitmire, who's an intern with analytics, is kind of now taking over that department. But obviously, yeah, Tomlin is a gut guy more than a numbers guy, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But he's not Sean McVay. He's not a big part of the analytics crowd.
Analytics tells you go for it on fourth down anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, generally, right?
Yeah, they're definitely big on going for fourth down and being aggressive. Just being aggressive in general. Look at Baltimore. They're heavy into analytics, and they're definitely a step ahead of Pittsburgh in that regard. And I think Cleveland is too.
Bryce writes in, hey guys, it's Bryce. Always enjoy the podcast. Some thoughts, questions for Yins. I have an understanding of what I have my understanding of what you mean by certain football terms you use, but can you clarify for me how you define the Hank, the dagger, the mesh, the switch concepts you talk about? That's the first part of it there. I think we already identified the switch. The dagger and the mesh concepts, a dagger generally you'll see on one side a vertical or multi-verticals, and then an in-breaking under route from that same side really is the dagger, if you will. You could have maybe a go route, a deep post route to draw the safeties and the corners out of it, and then the dagger would be like a 15-yard in-breaking that really kind of a great illustration of that. Go back and watch that. Was it the third or fourth down play against the Saints, Alex?
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, last year where who was the older receiver for them that caught the pass in the middle that conflicted Burnett?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Ginn,
I know what player
the Ted Ginn.
Yeah.
Ted Ginn Jr. That's a good definition. A dagger usually happens from an outside in-breaking route on the same side as, say, a post. All right, so there's a good way to kind of remember that. And mesh route, why don't you take mesh and Hank?
Mesh is just a man beater concept where two receivers will basically run across each other, usually the tight end and another receiver. The Y sets the mesh, so the receiver typically runs under the tight end, where you're just going to be just crossing routes, two shallow crossing routes designed to beat man coverage. And a Hank concept are when I say Hank, I mean by mirrored routes of curl flat, so a curl and a flat to the left side, a curl and a flat to the right side, and the tight end running generally a 5-yard curl that sits down over the center in the middle of the field, showing his numbers to the quarterback. The actual Hank verbiage is the tight end running that curl route. I just call it the whole concept because that's just what's been in playbooks. I think it's called a Harry if you run curl flat without the tight end running that curl route. So just curl flat is the Hank concept, and two shallow crossers are mesh.
Hey, Bryce, if you I don't know if you have the all 22 the Game Pass, man. If you go through some of this stuff and start watching, you'll start picking up on these concepts. Not only obviously what the Steelers do, but in general, the cell routes, the what else is common that we see in today's
spot.
Spot,
smash
routes, obviously from the outside. What else? But I mean, you really, it don't take long. You start putting on this film and watch it religiously, you'll start picking it up. Let's see, number 2. I hate to even bring this up, but it's time to start thinking about the possibility that, besides Filer, that age and attrition may be starting to creep in with the offensive line. Ali Villanueva is 31, Foster is 33, Pouncey is 30, and DeCastro is 29. I know it's borderline blasphemy to even consider it because they've been so good for so long, but is it actually time to start talking about? Look, let's not throw the big baby out with the bathwater just yet with Villanueva. He has not had a great start to the season, but that's not uncommon for him. And boy, those defensive ends took it to him. He needed a life alert button.
Yeah, I think Bose had 7 pressures alone.
Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah, I've never seen him on the ground that much.
He was on the ground. So let's not give up just yet on Villanueva here because he's played some good football in the past, man. Maybe he was sick. I don't know. Foster is the big concern here because of the Father Time is undefeated. I could see a scenario where this is Foster's last season, even though he's got one left. Pouncey's not going anywhere. Pouncey looks fine. What's the gift that, boy, nobody chops their feet like, boy, if you could put that, you could power a small city with the way he moves those feet.
Yeah, Pouncey's crazy. But it is fair to criticize his offensive line. Saying don't blame the offensive line. Blame the offensive line. Everyone's got to play better.
Everybody does have to play. DeCastro's okay. Look, Filer's a weak link there. They're gonna have to figure that out.
Yeah, Dave. Filer's got to play better. He gave up a sack last week. I mean, again, the whole offensive line has to play better. When you're 0-3, it's not just one man, one unit, one coach. It's the whole group, and the line is not playing like it should.
Should the Steelers this game take a page from what other teams have done to them and play a lot of two-man? Stop Joe Mixon by any means necessary and force Andy Dalton to beat them. I feel the Steeler corners as it stands can match up very well with opposing teams' wide receivers. Thoughts?
Yeah, two-man's been effective. They used it before, but if you do want to play two-man, you're playing too high shell. That will invite the running game. So if you want to stop Mixon, you probably don't want to play a lot of two-man. So you got to find that balance.
All right, one last one here because we're having a little bit of technical difficulties here. Todd Jitzler writes in, hello, fellas. Is the O-line overrated? Missing much, or are they going to be okay? Just reading too many newspaper articles about themselves. Right now, they are terrible. You saw them, look, we just talked a little bit about that. Sean Surratt is I don't think just not having Munchak there, and I know Ryan Clark said, yeah, he was a run game coordinator on top of it. I think the Munch aspect is a little bit overrated right now.
I don't know. I want to give it more time, but the line's not playing well, that's for sure. And I don't think the issue is an ego thing. The linemen, they don't have big egos, but they're just not playing well. I guess there's an adjustment period to life without Munchak, and we'll see how this team picks it up.
And you obviously got a new running backs coach. I mean, things aren't looking good for him right now, right?
Yeah. That's a good point. I had thought about that with Faulkner in there. Sure, that's another element of it.
All right, one last one. I lied. Caleb Winterburn writes in, been listening for 3 years and I don't miss a show. Your content is the best out there. Thank you guys a ton. Okay, 3 questions. Why is the middle of the field constantly open when the Steelers are out on defense? Is it scheme, players, or both? Other NFL defenses don't seem to get gouged so badly and so often in the middle of the field, but that's been the Steelers' biggest defensive weakness for as long as I can remember. Thoughts on that? First of all, look, they're not playing good in the slot right now either, so they've been getting beat, in the middle of the field that way for starters.
Yeah, last week was a play action thing that sucked up those linebackers open up the middle of the field. I can't really point to a specific issue right now, but I think you're right. Yeah, just getting kind of beat up on the slot is a big part of it.
Number 2, looks like Artie Burns, Sean Davis, and Javon Hargrave are out the door next offseason. Do we have any players left from the 2016? Is the 2016 draft Kevin Colbert's biggest whiff?
That's a good question. I don't have the draft class pulled up, but I can do that really quickly.
Yeah, Steelers 2000. Let's look at. Obviously, Artie Burns and.
Davis. But it was Burns, Davis, Hargrave, Hawkins, Feeney. Medikevich. Tyler Medikevich, 7th round pick, last man standing.
Yeah,
but he's going to be a free agent too, right?
Yeah, he's going to be gone after this year.
I mean,
unless they bring him back on a minimum salary, minimum benefit deal. But look, Artie definitely sunk and will be gone. Davis is going to be gone. Hargrave's going to be gone, right?
Yep.
Hargrave's not. Look, you want to at least try to get your first or second round guy to a second contract.
Yeah, I was just thinking, is this gonna be the first class ever where no one saw a second contract?
That might be something worth looking into over the years.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the previous classes, like 15 Chicolo, 14 Tuitt, 13 Vince, 12 DeCastro, Hayward, Pouncey, maybe 2000 Keenan Lewis, and Keenan Lewis got a second contract, didn't he?
I'm trying to remember.
Or no, it was Cortez Allen.
Yeah, Cortez Allen. Keenan went to the Saints.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. That's a good thought, though.
Okay. One non-football related question. I'm from Canada, so I have one burning question for you two crazy Americans. Have you ever tried a poutine? If so, what do you think? If you haven't tried one, I highly recommend it. A Poutine. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I think it's a meat-related thing. It's a big staple up there. I've never tried it, though. No, I've never had poutine before.
I never have had that. Okay, guys, keep up the excellent work. Keep in mind that all those guys giving you grief on Twitter are the vast majority of fans. Big mouth, small subsection of listeners. P.S. Congrats on being featured on Freezing Cold Takes last week, Dave. Yeah, look, that probably won't be the last time, right? People are itching to try to get me on Freezing Cold Takes. Give me your hottest take. What's going to happen Monday night? Alex, make me a bold prediction.
Oh, I don't have a good one. They win. Is that bold at this point? They win a game. That's my bold prediction.
My bold prediction is Jalen Samuels on the wheel for an explosive play, and I think we're talking about at least five plays with both Jalen and Connor on the field. How's that for bold?
I like it. I'll say Nick Vannett catches a touchdown pass.
Give me a defensive bold one.
I don't know. I really don't know. I guess that they.
Devin Bush interception. That's mine.
Yeah. All right. I'll link on to you with the Devin Bush interception.
All right. Good show. I look forward to this game. I hope I look forward to it. I've been waiting all week for Monday night. So with that, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex Kozora on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com. Please hit the PayPal button upper right, or donate button upper right navigational bar. If you want a ad-free subscription to SteelersDepot.com for $25 for a year, for a calendar year. You can have access ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com. A lot of people have been taking advantage of that. Alex and I will not be back on Monday. Remember that. Not back on Monday. We'll be back on Tuesday recapping the Steelers' hopefully Monday night victory over the Bengals. So with that, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex. All right, this is gonna be a nightmare to cut up here. So,
yeah, I don't know what happened.
I don't know either. There. All right, try to send me a recap, please, sir.
Yep, I will.
All right, have a good day.
You too.
All right, bye.